Iran has proposed a mutual reopening of the strait, leaving the nuclear discussion for later in the process. Given that the nuclear program has been a red line for this administration, would the president agree to that kind of phased negotiation?
Well, only because it's been reported. I will confirm the president has met with his national security team this morning. The meeting may be ongoing, maybe not, but the proposal was being discussed.
Russia has sharply criticized the United States after Iran put forward a proposal that did not include any nuclear concessions. A Putin aide later issued a pointed message after Arach's visit, urging Washington to reconsider certain positions. Trump appears to be under increasing pressure as Russia signals full support for Iran. There are no clear wins for Trump, as Iran rejects nuclear talks while its ally steps up the pressure. With Mojtaba reportedly influencing events from the shadows, Putin appears to be taking a leading role in shaping the Iran file. As the fragile ceasefire between America and Iran continues to drag on, Russia has now weighed in on how the war could eventually come to an end. A senior Russian diplomat said the United States needs to revise its policy on nuclear issues. Russia's permanent representative to international organizations in Vienna also had this to say. Russia's envoy said, and I quote, "Washington did not expect the Iranians to be such tough negotiators. The US needs to reconsider certain elements of its position, in particular on nuclear issues, in order to bring them in line with the Non-Proliferation Treaty. It would open the door to a peace agreement." Unquote. Russia's suggestion to the United States came at the same time that Iran submitted a fresh peace proposal. Under that proposal, Iran called for an end to the US blockade, a stop to the war, and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. However, Iran pushed nuclear negotiations to a later stage, much to Trump's dismay, according to Reuters. Donald Trump's key reason for launching the war was to dismantle Iran's nuclear program. Trump has repeatedly stated that Iran cannot be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon.
Iran has proposed a mutual reopening of the strait, leaving the nuclear discussion for later in the process. Given that the nuclear program has been a red line for this administration, would the president agree to that kind of phased negotiation?
Well, only because it's been reported. I will confirm the president has met with his national security team this morning. The meeting may be ongoing, maybe not. I don't want to speak affirmatively because I was prepping to come out here, but the proposal was being discussed. I don't want to get ahead of the president or his national security team. What I will reiterate is that the president's red lines with respect to Iran have been made very, very clear, not just to the American public, but also to them as well.
So they're considering it.
I wouldn't say they're considering it. I would just say that there was a discussion this morning that I don't want to get ahead of, and you'll hear directly from the president, I'm sure, on this topic very soon.
I'll ask you about the Fed chairman, but first, 3 assassination attempts in 3 years. Is this going to change the type of events that the president goes to?
Well, again, that's going to be part of the conversations moving forward. But as you heard from President Trump, he does not want these deranged lunatics and these grave acts of political violence to change our American way of life. And I think it's a very brave thing for him to say. It'd be very easy for him to just hunker down here at the White House where he knows he's safe, but the president wants to be out across the country. He wants to go across the country to meet with Americans. He wants to celebrate the 250th birthday of our nation's anniversary this summer. As you know, we're gearing up for a big UFC fight here on the South Lawn. So there's many exciting events I know the president wants to be part of and will be part of moving forward. He's undeterred in that way, and it's something that inspires all of us here to keep going.
Senator Tillis is now dropping his objection to allowing Kevin Warsh to be confirmed because the DOJ has closed their investigation. Is the president satisfied that an inspector general report into the Federal Reserve is enough to look into these renovations?
The president understands that the inspector general has greater tools at their disposal, perhaps even more powerful than a grand jury, to continue investigating the financial mismanagement of the Fed building, which is a priority for the president. Look, he's a builder himself. When he sees something has a lot of cost overruns, is taking too long, and in this case ripping off the American taxpayer, he wants to get to the bottom of it. I understand Senator Tillis put out a statement saying he'll support Kevin Warsh's confirmation. That has been our position all along from day one. He is more than qualified for the job, and we look forward to working with the Senate on his swift confirmation process. Megan.
As a follow-up on Warsh, will the president be satisfied once the Fed's Inspector General finishes that investigation, even if it finds no evidence of wrongdoing?
Well, that's a hypothetical question. I'll let the president speak on it when we see the results. It's obviously far too early to say.
And relatedly, as a follow-up, now that it looks like Warsh will be confirmed by the end of Jay Powell's term, is he still considering firing Jay Powell if he stays on as governor after that?
I haven't talked to him about it specifically, but I think the president will be satisfied once Kevin Warsh is confirmed as the Fed chair, which he should be. Karen.
On Iran, the president had said last week that the U.S. has started the process of clearing the Strait of Hormuz of mines. Do you have an update on how many have been removed and an estimate of how long that process could take?
I don't, but I would defer you to the Pentagon on that. We'll make sure they get you an answer, Karen.
It's an ongoing process, though. It's still actually happening right now.
Again, I would defer you to the Pentagon on anything with respect to clearing mines in the Strait of Hormuz.
Thank you very much.
I know that you said that the White House is reviewing the security protocols for things that could be done differently in the future. Have you identified anything so far that you would like to see done differently, or ask the Secret Service to make any changes in the security protocols for the president, particularly at these large events that are taking place off the White House campus?
Not yet, no, but as I said, there will be a meeting here at the White House in the earlier half of this week, so those conversations will take place.
And on the line of succession...
And I would also just add, look, the Secret Service does not detail their procedures or operations to the public for obvious reasons, because you have crazy people who try to hijack them and get around them. So these conversations will take place in private, but if adjustments need to be made to protect the president, they will be made.
The White House discussed doing like it does, for instance, with a joint address to Congress for these large events, and designating someone as the designated survivor for future large events that the cabinet attends.
Well, those conversations ahead of the walk of dinner did take place, but there were several members of the cabinet in the line of succession who did not attend for various personal reasons. So designating one survivor was not necessary, as we had several members who were not there already.
Carolina, all people forced to dive under tables and fearing for their lives on Saturday night, including many of the people in this room, myself included. What is the president's message to those people who experienced that terrible trauma and maybe are still fearful today?
I think he would say, as he sort of did on Saturday night, coming in here in his tuxedo, we can't allow these crazy people to let us be afraid. We have to keep moving forward, showing up, doing our job, celebrating our country, and doing what we know is right. But certainly we'd like to see the rhetoric against this president and his supporters toned down, because it is inspiring these crazy people across the country to target not just the president, but those who work for him and those who support him.
Iran's Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi, met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. During the meeting, Vladimir Putin offered to mediate and suggested storing enriched uranium as part of an effort to ensure peace in West Asia. Surprisingly, Putin also revealed that he had received a message from Iran's supreme leader last week.
Last week I got a message from the Supreme Leader of Iran. I would like you to convey my most sincere words of gratitude and to confirm that Russia, same as Iran, intends to continue our strategic relations. We see how courageously and heroically the Iranian people are fighting for their independence and sovereignty. Of course, we very much hope that, based on this courage and will for independence, the Iranian people will, under the leadership of a new leader, make it through this difficult period of trials, and that peace will follow. From our side, we will do everything that is in your interest, in the interests of all nations in the region, so that peace is reached as soon as possible. You know our position very well.
I was asked to confirm during this visit that Russian-Iranian relations is a strategic partnership and will remain that way moving forward. It was proven that Iran has friends and allies, such as Russia, who stand by Iran during difficult times and support Iran. We thank you for firm position in support of Iran.
This gains added significance because Mojtaba Khamenei has not been seen in public since February 28th. Amid a temporary pause in the war, Iran has said that no new images of its newly named supreme leader will be released at this stage, adding a layer of secrecy to an already tense political moment. The IRGC said there was a fear that enemies could use so-called occult sciences to try to harm Mojtaba, showing how seriously the authorities appear to be taking even unconventional forms of perceived risk. Those occult sciences were described as including astrology, numerology, palmistry, tarot reading, and Reiki, all of which were grouped together by the security officials as part of the same concern. Mojtaba was declared Iran's supreme leader on March 8 or 9, after the death of his father Ali, marking a major shift in the country's leadership. Mojtaba, who was also injured in those strikes, has not been seen in public since February 28, deepening speculation around his condition and his role in the aftermath. A newly surfaced mural featuring Iran's supreme leader has sparked fresh speculation surrounding Mojtaba Khamenei. The mural, reportedly displayed in Iran, appears to include Mojtaba Khamenei alongside prominent figures from the country's leadership. What stands out, however, is the combination of images placed alongside the current supreme leader in the display. The artwork also features his father, the late supreme leader Ali Khamenei, along with the founder of the Islamic Republic. Footage of the mural quickly circulated online and was reportedly captured in the city of Mashhad. The portrayal of the current supreme leader appears alongside individuals who were reportedly killed during the recent conflict. This has led to widespread online speculation regarding Mojtaba Khamenei's current status. The leader has not made any public appearance since the reported death of Ayatollah Khamenei. No official photographs, video footage, or audio messages have been released since his reported rise to leadership. There have also been claims suggesting Mojtaba may have sustained serious injuries during US-Israel strikes. According to the New York Times, Mojtaba is now constantly surrounded by a team of doctors and medical staff, underscoring the seriousness of the injuries and the level of care being provided. Mojtaba is being treated for the injuries he sustained in the airstrikes, according to reports, as medical care continues in the aftermath of the attack. Senior commanders of the IRGC and senior government officials do not visit Mojtaba Khamenei, reportedly out of concern for security and the sensitive nature of his condition. The IRGC and government officials fear that Israel may trace them to Mojtaba and kill him, according to the New York Times, which highlighted the extreme caution surrounding him. Because of Mojtaba's absence from public view, many people have begun asking who actually holds the reins of power in Iran at this moment. Amid this uncertainty, reports indicate that senior IRGC commanders may currently be directing key decisions in his absence. Ali Khamenei was described as a leader who had the final say over nearly every major issue, from war and peace to negotiations and strategic state decisions. His son and successor, however, is not playing that same centralized role, according to the New York Times report. Amid Mojtaba's continuing absence from public view, IRGC commanders appear to have emerged as the key decision-makers in the new structure. The New York Times said that new command structure was pieced together through interviews with 6 senior Iranian officials. Abdolreza Davari said, and I quote, "Mojtaba is managing the country as though he is the director of the board. He relies heavily on the advice and guidance of the board members, and they collectively make all the decisions. The generals are the board members." Unquote. That picture cuts against Trump's suggestion that the February 28 strikes produced a clean or successful regime change in Iran. Trump had also claimed that Iran's new leaders were much more reasonable, but the emerging structure points instead to a system where military figures now carry more weight.